We have not talked in this hour as well about the factor of race, which is on the minds of a lot of people, and what kind of a role it'll play on Election Day. Ted Koppel, you've been looking at race in America. You're doing a report on the Discovery Channel called The Last Lynching, a series of reports. As you go around the country and take your soundings, do you think race is going to be much of a factor come Election Day?
It can't help but be. It's a question of how much of a factor it's going to be. And it's always hard to track this. There is in politics something that's come to be known as the Bradley effect, hearkening back to a time when then Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley, an African-American, was running for governor, was far ahead in the polls, and then come Election Day, all of a sudden, he loses. It may be that is no longer a likely comparison, but I must tell you, I think, and the events of the last few days, I think, have underscored this. There continues to be a considerable amount of racism in this country. Barack Obama has gone to great lengths to avoid letting that be a subject, doing everything he can to avoid making it the subject. I think John McCain, to his credit, also has tried to avoid making that any element. But among the voters, is it going to be? You bet it's going to be. There's a recent Stanford poll which suggests that Obama might get 6 points more were it not for the race issue.
We want to share just a clip from your documentary on the Discovery Channel. This is a unique approach, both the person who's talking and the take on race. And let's just run that, and then you can explain to us what we've just seen here.
Sure.
James Tiger Knowles, whom we can't show you and whose voice we've altered electronically, has a unique perspective on the Democratic Party's nomination of Barack Obama as its candidate for President of the United States.
People need to vote for him because of his ideas and the veracity that he displays in what he does. And not because he's African American, because if they do that, and I don't care what color the voter is, that has nothing to do with it. But if he's voted for strictly because he's African American, then in a twisted way, we're taking a step backwards.
Who's Tiger Knowles?
This is a fairly bland statement until you realize that Tiger Knowles was a member of the Ku Klux Klan who has just spent 20 years in prison and is still in a federal witness protection program. Because he participated with another young Klansman in what we refer to as the last lynching, a lynching that took place in Mobile, Alabama in 1981. And Tiger Knowles ultimately turned state's evidence against the other man, who was, I think, the only white man who was executed during the 20th century for killing a black man. But he was a Klansman, ex-Klansman.
Paul Gigot, do you think race is going to be much of a factor on Election Day?
I hope not. I mean, obviously, it's such an important part of our history, and it's with us always. So it will to some extent. I've talked to a lot of people who were participants in that campaign, the Bradley campaign, who think that effect was overstated at the time. That was a while ago. I hope we've made progress since then. And to just your point on McCain, you know, a lot of people within his campaign or supporters are saying, why don't you use the Reverend Jeremiah Wright as an issue? And McCain has refused to do that, in part because I think he doesn't want to bring race into this whole issue.
What accounts, though, for the poll that you just showed, which shows 17 to 19% of people favoring Obama in a lot of the issues, and yet when it comes down to the overall poll, you're looking at 11%. I mean, it does appear that there's something. Now, it could be questions about leadership. It could be something else that gives people concern about voting for Barack Obama.
He is an unknown.
But you have to wonder if maybe there is some sort of a reticence because of race. Nobody wants to admit it to themselves, even.